One thing I wanted to add for everybody is that this is a project I usually do in the classroom over 2 to 3 sessions. So parents, you might want to break this up a little bit and have your kiddos work on bits and pieces. In the video, I have told them, pause here, pause there, take a break. It's probably recommended that they do that over a couple of days because it is a longer project. And you might want to go ahead and help them with the cutting out. When they get to their blue hippo part, it needs to be cut out of the paper, and might be helpful if you help them do that. So other than that, enjoy, have fun. I hope you are able to watch your kiddos do that. Maybe you can do it with them, but I'm hoping it also makes it easier for you and lets them have a little bit of creativity and you don't have to do too much. But I do appreciate your help. Thank you. Hi, first grade friends. I'm so glad you could join me today. I'm really excited to get started on an art project about a little Egyptian hippo. And he is an artifact that is actually in the Louvre in France. But we're going to go ahead and do an art project on him today. I'm really excited. But I'm going to read you a story about him first. This is the book called The Littlest Hippo. And I'm going to read you the story about this little guy right here and how he finds all of his family in a museum. And then when we're done, we're going to go ahead and create a watercolor piece. And you're going to be making a hippo, and you're going to be making the background to go with the hippo as well. That's why I've given you all the different pieces of paper in your packet, okay? So you're going to need a small piece of paper and a big piece of paper. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, everyone, this book is called The Little Hippo, and it's by a woman named Anya Kloss and Geraldine Eschler, and it's a book inspired by Egyptian art. So this is a fictional story. It is not true, but it is based on real facts, okay? This book has beautiful pictures in it, and you're going to see all of the papyrus grass, and I'm going to show you how we're going to draw that later on. Look at these beautiful pictures in here. It says, this story begins in ancient Egypt during the happy age of blue hippos. At that time, if you gazed at the watery marshes that line the cities, you could see the hippos' backs curled up along the horizon. I bet you didn't know these were little hippos here. Do you see them? Remember, this is our horizon. As the good masters of the Nile, the blue hippos basked in tranquil waters. All around them bloomed flowers, and as time went by, the river's many plants left a mark on their sun-bathed skin. Fish would brush against them, butterflies would land on them, and birds pecked without fear at these strange turquoise creatures. One day, the youngest among them, the one they called Little Hippo, became the friend of Antef, a tall old man with white hair. Every night, side by side, Antef and Little Hippo would admire the setting sun. The sun dies each day to reborn each morning, the old man would say. Soon I will fall asleep just like them. Then a long journey will begin. When Antef left for this unknown kingdom, and when he was laid low below the ground, Little Hippo lay down beside him and fell into a deep slumber. Time went by, days, months, centuries. Hidden deep inside their tomb, Antef and Little Hippo seemed to be forgotten. Then, one bright morning, at the first light of dawn, shovels began to dig through the earth. Hands began to search slowly through everything. And one by one, the diggers removed a multitude of objects, each one more precious than the other. All of this commotion woke up Little Hippo, who became frightened and hid beneath a stone. It was only then that he noticed his size. Instead of growing all of these years, he had been getting smaller and smaller. As soon as he got the chance, Little Hippo slipped out into the open. Nothing looked the same outside. The city had vanished into thin air. And in the river, the blue hippos had disappeared. Where were his brothers, his friends, his parents? There was not even a single flower growing anywhere, not a single bird flying in the sky. Wind and time had taken them all. I need to find my own kind, thought the little hippo. Perhaps they've left for distant lands, the one which Antef so often mentioned. And so he began his journey, a minuscule blue spot in the big golden desert. He scampered for days. The more he walked, the more sand stuck to his skin, covering the beautiful turquoise color of his back. Soon he began to shine as brightly as the sun. Little by little, underneath his feet, clay began to replace the warm sand of the desert. Houses lined the road here and there, and when the wind blew clay dust onto his body, Little Hippo took the appearance of the setting sun. In the distance, a forest appeared. Little Hippo was so happy to see the trees and plants again. He rolled around in the leaves and he ate them with delight. When he came out, he was as green as a prairie. Little Hippo kept walking and walking for what seemed like an eternity. At last he saw tall silhouettes on the horizon. A thick fog floated in the air, heavy with dust and smoke. Exhausted, Little Hippo lay down and fell asleep. When he woke up, he looked just like a little gray mouse. Little Hippo sighed. Oh, he had been traveling for so long. He would never find his lost ancestors. When he caught sight of the river flowing gently in a meandering river, he slipped into it and began to cry. But all of a sudden, as the current washed over his small round back, he saw them. His parents, his brothers, his friends. They were all waiting for him in a pyramid made of glass. Filled with joy, Little Hippo ran up to join them with all the strength that his little legs would allow. Boys and girls, can you find his brothers and his parents and his friends? Do you see them hiding in this glass pyramid? Ever since that day, Little Hippo has slept blissfully beside his family and friends. Meanwhile, around the earth, all hippos bathe tirelessly in the hope that one day they'll recover the beautiful turquoise color they once had. This is called Silhouettes of Hippopotami, the 11th Dynasty, and they're in a case in a museum in France. Now this, boys and girls, is one of the real little blue hippos that was found. He's made of earthenware or clay, and they believe that he was made 2040 to 1640 BC. And he's just 5 inches tall, so he's about this tall, not very tall at all. And he's in the Musée du Louvre in Paris. Now, we all want to know, is this real? Were there really hippopotamus? Well, we don't know if the hippopotamus were really blue and real, but what we do know is that they were actually earthenware ones made. And you'll see on them they put designs in ink of the plants that they found around the area they lived in. So that's what we're going to do today when we make our blue hippopotamus. We're going to put plants designs on there. Okay? And these are fun facts that talk about what happened really with the hippopotamus. Where are those blue hippos now? It says about 50 of them are scattered in big museums around the world, from Cairo to New York, from Paris to Berlin. You'll even find one in the British Museum in London. No two hippos are alike. The designs on their bodies vary, as does their size. But whether blue or turquoise, nearly every one of them has a beautiful lotus flower blooming on its big round bottom. Isn't that silly? And it says, who uncovered these treasures? Archaeologists did. They discovered them in the Valley of the Kings and Pyramids, and they deciphered ancient Egypt writings. They've studied lots and lots. Boys and girls, this is a really neat book, and it tells us a lot about Egypt and the story of the blue hippo. But now it is time for us to get started. So I need everybody to go ahead and grab their big piece of white paper. We're going to start with the big piece first. Okay, so gather your big piece of paper, gather a little cup of water, a paintbrush, and I would also like you to gather either markers, or if you don't have markers, if you don't have watercolor, then I want you to grab markers and watercolor. Let's go ahead and get started on making our blue hippo. We're going to go ahead and start by making the background of our blue hippo first. So the portion that we're going to do right now is going to be this watercolored background. Now, boys and girls, if you have watercolor at home, this is what I want you to use. If you don't have watercolor at home, I want you to grab some markers. And I also want you to get either a piece of tin foil or a piece of plastic bag, okay? I'm going to show you how to make your own watercolor with a piece of tin foil and markers. Or use watercolors, and everybody's going to need a little cup of water and some type of paintbrush. I have lots sitting over here. I have a big fat one that I have a skinny one here, and then I have some other skinny ones that have flat edges on them. So any brush that you can find will work to do our background. If you do have a bigger brush at home, it just makes it faster. If you don't worry, boys and girls, we can still make it like this, okay? So grab your markers and tinfoil or plastic bag, water or watercolors, and we're going to only use right now the big piece of paper. So that's what I want you to go ahead and get out to start with, okay? All right, we want to think about the colors that were in the background of our book from the Little Hippo. And if we open our pages, I want us to look at this one, you're going to see that there's a lot of blues and greens in our picture. So to make that look watery for our background, we're going to try to use our blues and our greens, okay? So if you have watercolor paints, you're going to start off by just painting a little bit of your background with water, and then you're going to pick one of your blues and you're going to start painting the background of your paper. And then you're going to move on to another spot, and you're going to maybe pick a different blue, and you're going to put some, those look very similar, don't they? And you're going to put that on there. And I'm going to move to another spot, and maybe I'm going to pick my darker blue and put it on there. What I want to do is cover my whole paper. I'm going to put some green. I'm going to cover my whole paper with blues and greens, okay? I'm going to always wet my paper first, because what that does is it allows my paints to blend with each other when I do that. This isn't going to be a super dark painting, boys and girls. This is going to be light. One of the fun parts that makes it really look like watercolor is when I get it wet and I can almost put puddles on here, all right? Now, if I wanted more color, watch. I can paint more color. See how I just did that? I just grabbed more paint from my paint palette. More paint. Look at my brush. Looks great. Oh, look how dark that is. And I can paint it dark like this. But I'm going to then take my water and push it all around. And I want it to blend with its neighbors. That's why we're only using cool colors, because we want it to look watery. All right? Now, if you do not have watercolors, let me show you how you can do your background. You can take a piece of tin foil or a plastic bag, and you can pick the colors from your markers. So I might choose to start with a blue. I'm going to choose this blue right here. what I would do is I would color on my paper, on my tin foil, or on my plastic. What it does is it acts like a barrier so it doesn't soak into the paper. If I colored on paper, it wouldn't work as well. But if I color it on here, it works much better. And now I'm going to put my water on it. And I'm making paint, boys and girls. It's just like if we were to soak the end of our paintbrush. If we soaked it in water, it would turn that into paint eventually. This is just faster. And we still can use our markers. So see how that's nice and wet now? See, I'm going to lift it up for you. See how it looks like paint? So now I can go ahead and paint like this. Okay? And it's just a different way of painting. So you can do either of these 2 ways of painting until you have filled your whole background with lots of colors. All right? And that's really what I want you to do. I want you to go all the way to the edges of your paper. Boys and girls, I want you to make sure everything is covered. If you have any little white spots, see how I have this one up here? I'm just going to go back. I ended up painting my whole piece with just my markers. And the really fun thing about using this tin foil is when I'm done, I take an old rag and I just wipe it off and I can use it again and again and again. So that's a really nice way of being able to use your markers and make watercolor. Okay, so I have this. I really like all my colors. I filled in any spots I might have that were white. If I want to put a few more white wet dots on here, I can. Kind of leaves, if you can look really closely at my spots, you can kind of see the little water spots that are on there. I like when it does that. Okay, I want you to take this piece of paper and I want you to set it to the side. Now, if you feel like that took you a long time and you're ready for a break, I want you to pause the video right now. And then when you're ready to come back, even if it's tomorrow or the next day, you can come back and finish working on your hippo. Okay? Just do that part for now. And then you can come back and join me on another time when you feel like you have more energy and are ready for painting. If you are ready to get going, then let's start talking about making our hippo. This is the fun part. All right, I'm going to let this guy dry over here. We have to make this paper blue first. So we're going to kind of do it similarly to how we did our background, but we're going to use markers. What I really want is for you to have this neat, blended, splotchy look on your blue hippo. Just makes them look really unique. So what I'm going to have you do is you're going to grab either a big Ziploc plastic bag or you're going to grab your piece of tin foil. And this is my tin foil that I just used, so I'm just going to use my tin foil. And I want you to grab a marker. Okay, now if you notice, my tin foil is as big as my paper. So you need to make sure your tin foil is as big as your paper, or you have a big Ziploc bag that should be about as big as your paper. That will work. The next thing I want you to do is to take a blue, and you can take a turquoise because they did talk a lot about the blue hippo being a turquoise or a blue. So you can choose one or the other. We're only going to use one today, so I'm going to use my dark blue. And what I want you to do is you're going to color your paper. Okay, so my tin foil is all ready, and I'm going to take my marker, and I'm going to go ahead and color it all the way across. Because what I really want to do right now is just turn my paper blue. Now I have a couple ways of being able to do this. Oops, to do this. If I have a water bottle, a spray water bottle, you can use that one first. I'm going to do it 2 ways to show you both ways. Okay. So there's my blue. If I have a spray water bottle, you're going to take your spray water bottle and you're going to spray that tin foil. You want a lot of water on there. See how it starts to puddle up? okay? And then I want to take my piece of paper and lay it down. I like to use my old towel. I'm going to press. Okay? And then what you'll do is peel it off, and you're going to have a great piece of paper to work with. Okay? I want to let that dry. Now, let me show you another way to do this. If I have my tin foil and I go ahead and cover it with blue, I'm going to use a different color just so you can see the difference. Oh, this one's much more turquoisey, isn't it? That's okay. My other choice I can do is to take my fat paintbrush and to take my water, and I'm just going to get the whole thing wet. I'm painting it with water, and it's turning my ink into a paint, but I really have to get a lot of water on here, okay? Then I can lay my paper down on top of it just like I did before. I'm going to rub it. Gently massage the paper. I don't want to do it too hard. I don't want to rip it. Okay, and then I'm going to peel it off. And look at that. Look how pretty that turned out. So I have a lot of little white splotches, and I'm okay with that because it gives me that interest like I had here. Okay? So boys and girls, I have to let this dry. So I want you to pause the video. I want you to go get a drink of water, maybe a little snack, and then come back. Maybe you need to work on a little bit of work for class. After this is dry, come back, and I'm going to show you how to turn our paper into a hippo. Okay, everybody, our paper has dried. So once your paper has dried, I want you to find the handout that I made for you. And I also would like you to get out a black crayon. If you have your other crayons nearby, that would be great because we're going to need those too. So get your handout, your dried paper, a black crayon, and have your other crayons handy, okay? Let's go ahead and draw that hippo. Now, I have two pieces of paper because if you remember, I showed you two different ways to make them. This one right here was the one where I sprayed my paper and laid it down. This one right here is where I painted my paper with water and then laid my paper down. So whichever one you chose to do, I have two different ones to show you how to work on making that hippo. All right? We're going to go ahead and draw the hippo first before we decorate him. I want us to take a look at my hippo here. When I draw my hippo today, I want to use as much of my paper as I can. So if you're going to we're going to start with making a letter C. Do you see that part right there? Just that letter C. We're going to start by making that. Now, when I make my letter C, I want to be really careful I don't make it too small. If I do, my hippo will be really tiny. If I make my letter C this big, then I won't have any space for his body. So when you make your letter C, I want you to make them about as big as your fist. If I put my fist here and I traced and made a C around my fist, that's about how big I want my hippo's face to be. So I'm going to put this right here so you can look at it while I draw it. I'm going to go ahead and start by making this piece right here. So I'm going to do it in the upper area of my paper. I don't want to go too far down because I want to make the rest of his body. And I'm going to start, maybe you want to watch me first before you do it. I'm going to go up and around and down. I'm pushing hard. It's a nice big letter C. Here's what it looks like on my whole piece of paper. So if you look, I have a nice width of hand down here. I have some fingers at top. I want to leave this part here so I can make the front of his face. But I also have a lot back here to make his body. So I want you to look about how far away. Maybe you do 4 fingers away from the edge and you can make your C. Make your C about as big as your fist. Okay, go ahead and draw that C. Giving me thumbs up when you're done. Okay, now that you've drawn that C, let's go ahead and make this front part. Now this looks like a backwards C. It's going to be the front of my hippo's face. I'm going to bring this part down a little bit. And I'm going to make another bump on the front of my hippo's face. That's going to be this part of his face, okay? All right. From this step, I'm going to make his back. I'm going to start in the middle of his head, and I'm going to make it go all the way down, and then I'm going to stop so that I can give him feet. All right, I'm going to move my hippo right now because it's hard to draw with him. So I'm going to make this space go all the way around his back, and I'm going to end it here. Watch how I do it first before you draw. Here I go. I'm going up and around, and then I'm going to stop. Stopping right there because I want to make his feet, okay? I'm going to go over to the front of my hippo, and I'm going to start here. Watch what I'm going to do first. I'm going to bring it down and stop right there. Right, now I need to add my hippo's legs. So here, when I make my hippo's legs, do you see how I just made it go out a little bit? Instead of making it go straight down, I made it go out, and I'm going to pick it up and come over here and go out again. Do you see that? This is going to give my hippo one fat leg. All right? Over on this side, I'm going to do the same thing. This one came straight, but I'm just going to give it a little line out, and that's going to be his front leg. So now I have a front leg and a back leg done. Okay, remember, if I'm going too fast, you just pause, catch up to me, or boys and girls, the really great thing about a video is you can rewind, and I can do it again. So you can go back. All right, once I have his two front feet, or his front and his back foot done, I'm going to put my crayon here. Watch, I'm going to draw a straight line, but it's short, because now I'm going to make my other front leg for my hippo, and his leg's going to come down. I did another little slanted line. Remember, it's sort of at a diagonal, not all the way, but a slanted. And I pick my crayon up, move it over, and make another slanted line like that. That makes his two front feet and legs. Now I'm going to go ahead and connect his belly. All right, now what are we missing? We're missing his other back leg. So watch, just one more. Oops, oh my goodness, look it. I pressed so hard. Do broken crayons still color? You bet. I'm going to press down, 1, 2. So now I have his back leg. All righty? I remember that my legs are slanted. The great thing about being at home is if you don't like your hippo, you can do it again on another piece of paper. Now remember, you'll have to wait for it to dry first. All right, let's go up to my hippo's face. I'm going to make a couple of ears on my hippo's head. And in order to make those ears, I want them to look like little leaves. So I'm going to come up one curve and bring a curve down. That's going to be one ear. And then I'm going to put another one over here. One curve up, another curve down. And I've touched his head. I'm going to put a little line in the middle that shows that his ear's kind of folding. Now let's give him two little nostrils. They look like little tiny ovals. And he's smiling. And I'm going to give him some eyes. So to do my eyes, I'm going to start off by making two round dots. And do you see how I've actually made my circles bigger? They're not just a dot like if I were to just stick my paper down like that and make a dot. I've actually made a circle and then I made it bigger. Okay? And then around that, I'm going to make a bigger circle. Look how cute he is now. Isn't he lovely? All right, let's go back and give him a cute little tail. It's going to pop one curve up and one curve down. And then I'm going to come down to his feet and I'm going to give him toenails. They're just hills. So if I were doing my cloud lines, this is what my cloud line would look like. If I were practicing my lines. Okay, my hippo is ready to be decorated. So now what I would like you to do is put your black crayon down, and I would like you to pick up your piece of paper that I gave you that has all of these really neat different Egyptian flowers and plants on it. Now I took these ones from inside the book, okay? And I want you to pick out one of your blue crayons. Now boys and girls, you can pick out, if you have a big pack of 24, there's a lot of blue. You can pick with just a regular blue. I think there's a, see what the names, they have names. Oh, that one's a regular blue. This one's called Crulian. And this one is a blue-green. I don't care which one you use. You just want a blue color, okay? I'm going to use this one because I like the tip on it. It looks like it would be kind of fun for me to color with. Okay, so I'm going to use my crayon, and I'm going to use these flowers, and I'm going to draw them onto my hippo. Let's look back at my sample hippo again. I've drawn plants that come up. I've drawn little swirls. I've drawn lines on their face with a plant that goes up the face. I've drawn plants across the body and hanging down. So I want to go ahead and draw all of those onto my hippo right now. Okay? All right, boys and girls, I've drawn all my designs on my hippo's body. And so I'm going to put my blue crayon away, and I'm going to go ahead and get out a pair of scissors. Now, if we were at school, this is as much as we would do in one day. We would just do our hippo. And then our next project would be, on our next time, would be to put our whole hippo together. Now, you can have a grown-up help you cut this out. If we were at school, I would cut this out for you. And then the next week when you came to art, it would be ready for us to do. So if you want to have a grown-up go ahead and help you cut this out, please go ahead and do that. If you want to pause the video and come back tomorrow and finish working on your hippo tomorrow, you can do that again, all right? All right, artists, let's put our hippo project together. So what you're going to need right now is your hippo. You might want to look at this because we're going to use it for our background. You might want some painted paper in green. I just did the exact same thing I did with my blue paper. This is my scrap. I just did it, look, I did it on the back and made some green paper. If you don't want to do that, then you just need a green marker. And I'd like you to get out a red or orange crayon. I'm going to get orange out. Okay, so I have my hippo. I have my background paper. I have either, if I want to use painted paper, I have that, or I have my green marker. I have an orange crayon. And I have my hippo art that shows me how to do some designs. So to get our background ready, I'm going to move everything out of my way. And I am going to go ahead and start by creating, with my blue crayon, some designs. Let's see. From my paper. Because this is where my blue hippo, this is the water my hippo is going to be in. So I'm going to go ahead and take my crayon and draw some taller, longer papyrus plants. So I did a line, this is my stem, with a little triangle to make my plant, and I'm just going to make these sticks come out, and they have little triangles on the end of them. They're upside down, but you could even draw this a little dot. Okay, and I'm going to do another one, but watch this. It's going to go this way. Oops, I want to color this in. Look, it's going to go that way. This time I'm going to make a half circle, and it's going to have some little, like a little tulip plant on top of it. I'm going to color that in. And then from here, I'm going to do the same thing again. This is very similar to, boys and girls, if you did my my dandelion video. We made little lines like this on our dandelions. Oh, maybe I'll have another one that comes up here, and it's going to have that little cup on the bottom. And then it's going to be closed. It hasn't opened yet. So I have some plants here. I want to go ahead and keep making a few more plants. So we're just making these same ones, and I'm going to put them on my paper. So I have some more coming from the bottom of my paper. Okay, once I have all of these blue flowers and papyrus plants on my paper, I want to go ahead and put some things on the sides. That's where I'm either going to use my green paper I made or my green marker. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is take a pair of my scissors, and I'm going to cut a long, skinny piece out of my scrap paper, and I'm going to lay it over here on the side of my paper. Do you see it over here? And I'm going to do another one. Now I'll show you a marker on the other side, okay? So if you did these, you're going to go ahead and just make those little plants coming off of the side. If I don't have that, I'm going to go ahead and make some that come off my side like this. Okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some leaves. Now, if I'm really feeling up to it over on this side, I could cut out leaf shapes with my scrap piece of green paper that I made, and I could put some leaves on it like that, okay? And put leaves all over my piece of paper. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to make some lines coming out like this, really skinny ones. I don't want to make them long again. And if I want to come over here, these are, pretend I glued these down. Make some lines coming out. Now I'm going to take my orange crayon, and I'm going to make some flowers, and I'm going to make them sort of like these little tulip shapes right here. Bring them down and give them just a rough edge, sort of like the top of an egg shell breaking. And I might even make some that just float next to them. Okay, maybe a big one up here. So this is the side where I drew it on with my marker. And this is the side where I cut out my paper and I put it on. And I would just do the same thing on this side. Right? I haven't glued these ones down, but you would want to glue these ones down first. Great. So now I have my background kind of the way I like it. I have some greenery on the sides with some flowers coming off of it. I have my big papyrus plants up in, growing through the river. And now I'm going to get my blue hippo, and I'm going to go ahead and get some glue. And I'm going to take that glue, and I'm going to do dot, dot, not a lot all over the back of my hippo. And then I'm going to push him down and press him down, and he's going to get glued down, okay? And when you're done, you have an adorable picture of the little blue hippo. You can tell your family the story of the little blue hippo. And then, boys and girls, what I want you to do is I want you to have your mom or dad take a picture of your little blue hippo. I want them to send it to me. So you can send it to me on my Instagram account. You can send it to me on Facebook, or you can email it to me to my school account, which is just my name, Kay Hillman at Placer Academy. I hope you had a really fun time learning about the blue hippo and Egypt, and I look forward to talking with you next week when we're going to work on an Egyptian cat. So I can't wait to talk about that. Have a great week, you guys, and I'll see you soon.